Here's the scenario. You record a quick demo, no real setup, just a voice memo on your phone or maybe just a rough recording on your laptop as well. Just scratch vocals, a bit of chords, nothing polished. And it feels alive. It feels like something. So you get to work. You build it out properly. You layer the production. You re-record the vocals. You mix it carefully. You fix everything that was unclear and imprecise about the demo. And somewhere in that process, at the end of the track, you lose it. The finished version is technically better in every way. Cleaner vocal, fuller production, better mix. And yet when you compare them side by side, the demo has something that the finished version doesn't have. A feeling, an urgency, something that made you want to keep listening. And you can't figure out why. So you get back to the sessions and try again. And it gets worse. I'm Saurabh, one half of the composer duo Sorder. We've done over 150 TV commercials, a lot of placements in movies and web series as well. And I've made this mistake more times I can count. On commercial work, on songs, I was certain we're gonna be working amazingly well. And I've spent a long time trying to understand why this problem happens and how to solve it. And I hope by the end of the video, you'll be able to solve it as well. Now, before we talk about why demos sound better, we need to understand what a demo actually is. Not technically, but psychologically. A demo is made under pressure. You're not trying to get it perfectly right, but you're racing to record that idea somewhere before it can vanish. And that urgency changes everything about how you perform and how you take your decisions. So when you're recording a scratch track with the vocals, you're not thinking about the breath control or the sibilances or whether your tone is consistent. You're only thinking about the song. You're inside it. You're inhabiting the feeling of making this idea into a reality. And that emotional presence is captured on that recording. Not perfectly. In fact, many times the imperfections are what actually carry it. A slightly rushed phrase, a breath in an unexpected location, a note that's not quite centered but leans into it with conviction. These aren't flaws in the traditional sense. They're evidence of a human being actually feeling something in reality. Listeners hear that. You hear that. And whilst no one might be able to name it out, but we all feel it instinctively. The demo also has structural urgency. Nothing is overthought because there is no time to overthink. The arrangement is minimal because you haven't added anything yet. The vocal sits forward because there's no one competing with it. The whole thing has a directness, a clarity of intention that comes from constraint, not from craft. And that's what you're actually trying to chase when you're trying to finish a demo. And finishing, paradoxically, is often what destroys it. Now, let's talk about what happens in the production process that kills the feeling. Every layer you add to the track makes a decision for the listener. A slow string tells them how to feel emotionally. A heavier drum track tells them if it's supposed to be groovy or not. A counter melody might take their attention to it from the main melody. These aren't bad decisions. Production is the art of making these decisions well. But every layer also costs something. Some space in the entire frequency spectrum that you have available to listen. And you have a fixed amount of space in that entire track. So you really need to understand how to use it well. Conversely, a sparse demo without many elements also gives the listener something to put themselves in. The spaces that aren't filled get filled by the listener's own emotional state. That's why minimal recordings feel more personal than fully produced ones do. There's more of the listener in them. And as you add production, you're filling up all those gaps. You're making the music more complete, but also keeping it more closed. Less room for the listener to enter. The overproduced version is like a sentence where every single word is explained. The demo is like a sentence with a pause. It allows you to finish the sentence yourself. And then there's the vocal. When you re-record the vocal properly, you're recording it with awareness. You know you're trying to get the final take. You're monitoring your own performance, not just singing it. And that self-monitoring, however subtle, closes down the openness that a demo vocal had made feel. The technical quality does improve, but the emotional quality might get reduced. Now, this is a trap that singer producers fall into more than anyone else, because you have the emotional investment of a performer and the technical capability of a producer. You finish the track, something feels off, you go back and fix it. Now something else sounds different by comparison, you fix it. Now the vocal is buried under these tracks, so you bring it up. Now the low end is fighting the bass, so you fix the low end. And now the chorus doesn't hit as hard as it felt before, so you add another layer of vocals. And now it's too busy. You've just spent 4 hours trying to get to exactly where you were yesterday. Except now the session has 17 more decisions layered onto it, and the original feeling is even further away. This is the production loop, and it has no natural exit, because there is always something better that can be done. And it's a moving target by definition. The production loop isn't a skill problem, it's a structural problem. You don't exit it by being better at production. You exit it by building a boundary before you enter the session. And if you want to understand more about the singer and producer boundary, look at this video above. And if this describes something that has happened to you, please like the video, subscribe to my channel, and share this video with other singer producers who might really benefit from it. Now let's move on. The fix is something called a production ceiling, and it's a decision you make before entering a session, not during and not after. Production ceiling is a simple answer to one question: what is the minimum this track needs to be finished? Not the maximum, not the ideal, the minimum. What are the non-negotiable elements? The lead vocal, the bass, a harmonic layer, a rhythmic backbone. What serves the song at its most essential level? Think about it and write that down before you start the session. That's your ceiling. Everything above that is optional, and optional means you need a strong reason to add it, not just a feeling that it'll sound cool or whatever. This reframes the entire production process. Instead of starting from nothing and adding until it feels done, which has no defined endpoint, you're starting from a defined destination and only departing from it with intention. It also forces a useful question every time you want to add a new layer. Does this serve the song, or does it serve my anxiety that the song just isn't enough yet? Because a lot of what gets added in the production is anxiety management. The track feels exposed, so you fill it. The vocal feels vulnerable, so you bury it in reverb. The arrangement feels minimal, so you add a pad that doesn't really do anything except making it more finished in your head. Instead of constantly shifting for the extra layer, try to see if the sounds that are inside the production already are well made. That means giving attention to the individual drum sounds, the kicks, the hats, the snares. If there's something small missing in them, effect wise, EQ wise, or compression wise. Because many of the times you'll find that the answer lies in the original sound source, rather than to add something additional which is trying to cover up the mistake or the flaw of the original sound. In this way, the production ceiling allows you to have more control in the project as opposed to doing infinitely more additions. One more practical thing, and this one changed how I work personally. Before you produce anything, make a commitment about the demo vocal. Specifically, unless the pitch is truly off or the performance is technically broken, the demo vocal stays as reference, and you don't replace the demo vocal until you have something that has more depth, more emotional truth, not just better technical skills. This sounds simple, it's almost impossible to follow in practice, because the demo vocal has that weird breath in between two lines, a specific gap that you might not be able to emulate in another recording. There are some pitch waivers at the end of the chorus and you want to do it cleaner. But cleaner does not necessarily mean better. Cleaner is just cleaner. So record a new vocal. Compare them honestly, not on pitch accuracy or breath control, but on feeling. Does this song still make you feel the way you felt when you heard that first demo? Or better yet, when you're singing it, is it invoking the same feeling that you had when you first sang that demo vocal? If yes, use it. If no, go back to the demo vocal. Understand what makes it so special. Your listeners will never know about the breath in bar 2. They will absolutely feel the difference between a vocal that was alive and that was correct. Look, the demo sounds better because it was made without the weight of trying to be finished. It had urgency, constraint, and emotional presence. And those things don't survive overproduction unless you protect them. So set your production ceiling before you start. Protect the demo vocal until something genuinely better replaces it. And learn to recognize the production loop for what it is. Not a quality control process, but an exit you haven't found yet. Understand the sounds you have better before layering them up with something that your track doesn't really need. The song you captured in that first rough pass deserves to be finished. Build your process around protecting it. See you in the next one.